1917, a crucial moment in American history. The country had become involved in the First World War, and in an attempt to increase national security, Congress passed the Espionage Act of 1917, creating stiff penalties for false statements intended to interfere with the war. Few could possibly imagine the controversy that would arise shortly after, following the arrest of a man named Charles Schenck. Charles Schenck was a prominent socialist during World War I. The socialists believed that the war was caused by the rich for their own benefit, while causing thousands of the poor and working class to die to achieve these ends. As part of his beliefs, Schenck attempted to distribute some 15,000 leaflets encouraging people to resist the draft, arguing that it amounted to involuntary servitude, which was outlawed by the 13th Amendment. For this protest, he was arrested and convicted of attempting to cause insubordination in the military and naval forces of the United States. Schenck appealed to the Supreme Court, arguing that the Espionage Act violated the First Amendment, which forbid Congress from passing any law prohibiting free speech. The case brought up several key issues that needed to be addressed. Were Schenck's statements protected by the First Amendment? What was the meaning of the First Amendment statement regarding free speech? Were the standards of free speech different during peacetime and wartime? And was the Espionage Act constitutional, or was it in violation of the First Amendment? At the trial, Schenck's lawyers presented their arguments. The Espionage Act was unconstitutional. Schenck and his other members of the Socialist Party were being persecuted for their personal belief that the war was immoral. The First Amendment was created specifically for the purpose of protecting political speech and to prevent a tyranny of the majority. If Congress could pick and choose when a citizen's rights could be diminished, then the First Amendment would be meaningless. The lawyers for the U.S. also made their arguments. If a nation is at war, it is justified in taking steps to ensure the success of its efforts to defend itself. The case involved the congressional draft policy, not the First Amendment. In a crisis, statements critical of the government cannot be tolerated. The nation could not permit an effort to deprive the armies of necessary soldiers. The Socialist Party's words and actions were a danger to the nation. The Espionage and Sedition Acts were appropriate during a time of war. The court, under Chief Justice Edward White, voted 9-0 in favor of the United States. In the majority opinion, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes famously wrote, "The question in every case is whether the words used are used in such circumstances and are of such nature as to create a clear and present danger that they will bring about the substantive evils that Congress has a right to prevent." In essence, the decision was that context determines the limits of the First Amendment. Actions that are legal in peacetime can be illegal in wartime. As a result of this case, a balancing test was created in order for the court to assess free speech challenges against the state's interest on a case-by-case basis. This test only lasted for 50 years, when in 1969, during Brandenburg v. Ohio, it was replaced with the imminent lawless action test, which is still used today. Perhaps the greatest summation of the court's logic behind their decision came from Justice Holmes' majority opinion, when he coined the now famous analogy that a man would not be protected if he walked into a theater and yelled "Fire!" when there was no danger, without facing the consequences.
Spell it out every detail, but I dropped the call before I spilled my guts. Let your floor stay clean, like my conscience will be. Cause if you heard anything, you didn't hear it from me. I'm sweeping up the seconds that tick off the clock, saving it for later when I'm too ticked to talk. And I need some time to search my mind, to locate the words that seem so hard to find. Sometimes I say things that I wish that I could take back. The most crucial thing I lack is a thing called tact. And if you're always so intently listening, then the smartest thing to say is to tell myself not to say a thing. Yeah, I gotta keep quiet, quiet.